It's a cold, wintry morning, and I decided that we were going to do something nice and warm and comforting. So today, we're going to put together one of my favorite soups, which is a sausage lentil soup. And this particular soup has kale and onion and celery and carrots and nice vegetables that are going to make it not only delicious, but it's also going to be very savory. And guess what? It's budget friendly. So let's get it into the crock pot so it can cook for the day. But now we need to brown this meat, and I like to cook my sausage before I put it into the crock pot just to get most of it. It doesn't have to be done because it's going to cook in the crock pot, but I want it at least 3/4 of the way done before I put it in. I have a pound of Italian sausage that we're working on right now, and getting it all together. So we're going to break it up so I can spread it out in this skillet. Now I'm also going to put my onions in here as well so that that onion flavor can get through. I'm going to do a lot of seasoning while it's here. So once everything goes into the crock pot, it's pretty well seasoned and ready to go. I love a budget-friendly meal, and I especially like one that's budget-friendly and nice and quick to prepare. And this certainly, it's not so much that it's quick, but it's just that it's easy to prepare. So we're breaking up this sausage, and once we get it into the crock pot, you know, it's pretty much hands off until dinner time. I love that. Now, in addition to the sausage, we're going to need some carrots, and I've done a little prepping. I've got my carrots ready. I've got the onions ready. I'm going to be actually using canned lentils, and purposely because I want this to come together pretty fast. So I'm using 2 cans of lentils that I got from Aldi's, and in this sausage, I'm going to add some pepper. And I know some of you are a little sensitive to pepper, and certainly that's up to you. But I'm going to add a little pepper because remember, this is soup. And there's our pepper. I'm not adding any additional oil. We're going to need some tomatoes. And I actually have canned tomatoes all ready to go into the soup. I have canned diced tomatoes that I had left over from another meal. And what I usually do is to put them into these containers. And let's see, I think these are 2-cup containers, and put them into the freezer. And then that way you just have to drop it into your crock pot or into your Dutch oven or whatever it is that you're going to cook your dish in. You just drop it in. But the nice thing is that we're prepped and we're ready to go. So we're going to get this all together very quickly. Now, our sausage is cooking well. And I'm going to get just a little tiny bit of brown on it. All right, let's make a well in the center, and I'm going to add the onions. I have 1 large onion. Don't leave anybody behind. I'm going to place in the center. Now, if you just like lentil soup, you could certainly do this and leave out the sausage, but and just do more of a vegetarian lentil soup. And in that case, you'd add not so much more onion, but you'd add different kinds of vegetables and those kind of things to it, if you wanted vegetables. And but with this one, we're going to add the sausage. All right, I'm going to give that onion just a little more time to cook. I'm also going to add my celery. I have about 2 cups of celery. I'm just going to let that have a minute here in the skillet before we add all of this to the crock pot. Now, you know, technically, I could leave everything right in here and prepare it. But because I've got to go out today and I want the soup to be ready when I come back, I am purposely putting it into the crock pot. But do know, if you don't have a crock pot, this can be prepared on the stove. Okay. Now we're ready to get all of this into our crock pot. We've got all of that into our crock pot. Now, it's time to add the rest. I'm going to add my carrots. I have 2 cups of carrots. I'll put those in, already prepared. Don't you love these containers? These are just so nice. Those are those little ball. They're actually called canning containers, but I use them for everything and not necessarily canning. So I like to use those as well as these little Rubbermaids. And whichever one I grab, that's the one I use. Now, like I said, I've got tomatoes already prepared. And this is equivalent to 1 can, 14-ounce can of diced tomatoes. Now let's add our lentils. We've got the carrots in, the tomatoes in. We're going to add our 2 cans of lentils. There's 1. And I thought these were Aldi's, but they're actually Walmart's organic. Okay, let's give everything a zhuzh, and then we'll add our liquid. Now, you can use whatever type of broth that you like. I like chicken broth or a vegetable broth. And I think what I have, I'm not sure which one I have. I know I have some of both, chicken and vegetable. So whichever one's in the refrigerator, that's the one we're going to go with. I'm going to add some seasoning. We need some house seasoning. So there's 1 heaping teaspoon and a half of house seasoning. That's our black pepper, garlic, and onion powders. I'm going to add some no salt seasoning, which is equivalent to Mrs. Dash. And for now, I'm just going to put 1 in, but I'm going to keep it handy just in case I need to add a little more. And since this does involve vegetables, I'm going to add a couple of heaping teaspoons of my dehydrated vegetables to add a little more nutrition. So that's 1 and 2. Now, about 30 minutes to a half an hour before all of this is ready, I will add some kale. And purposely, because I want it to come together very quickly in this crock pot, I'm going to put it on high, and I'm going to be using frozen kale, frozen chopped kale, probably about 5, I think it's the pack that it comes in. It's a little pack of a 10-ounce pack. Well, I'm going to use about half of that to go in the soup. Okay, I'm starting with 2 cups of broth. Now, I'm almost sure that I will be adding more liquid along the way, but we're going to get it started with our 2 cups, and I will probably add another 2 cups. But I know the tomatoes are going to be juicy and they're going to make the juice, and I don't want my crock pot to run over. So let me see. I have a little bit more in my box. About half a cup. So we'll go ahead and add that in, and that way that box is done. I don't have to put that back in the refrigerator. Okay, so we've got all of this going, and the only thing I haven't put in here is some real garlic. So I will add some fresh garlic. Let's add about 3 teaspoons of garlic. Well, I may take that back. Look at that heaping teaspoon. All right, so that's 1, and then just a regular. Okay, so I just did 2 teaspoons of garlic. We like garlic, so I did the heaping. So I'm going to get all that mixed up, because garlic is so good for you, and especially now with colds and flu and all those kind of things that are lurking around. So we want to get as much nutrition into our family as we possibly can. So our soup is ready. We'll put the top on it, get it plugged in, and let's see what time it is. 11, that's on 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to put it on for 4 hours on high. So 4 hours on high. There we go. It's ready to go. And when she's ready, or if I make any changes, I'll bring you back and let you know what they are. And you know, as always, the recipe is down in the description box. Our soup is ready, and I've decided that what I'm going to do, we went out today and we actually ended up eating out. So what I'm going to do is to give our soup a good taste, know that the flavor is just right. And then we're going to put it into storage containers, because we have some really cold days that are going to be coming up. And you know, it's always nice to have dinner sitting in your freezer. So let's see how we're doing. Oh, the flavor's good. And let's see if our lentils are tender. They should be. Quite hot. Oh yes, the texture is just right. So I cooked this on high for 4 hours, and you saw everything I put in it. So let's get this all in its container and get it ready to store. I love these quart containers. You know, the one thing that they do, I get these on Amazon, and the only problem is you get them, I buy them probably once a year, because you can see they tend to discolor, but you know, the quality of them and what they're supposed to do does not change. So I'm going to start to ladle our soup into our containers and have it ready for another night. Now I'm going to take 2 of these and I'm going to put them into the refrigerator, and I'm putting in at this point 2 heaping scoops of the sausage. Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot to put the kale in. So I'll have to put that kale in when I get ready to actually cook it for dinner. So I'm going to put in 2. There's 1. 2 good scoops of the sausage, the kale, and the vegetables. And see if that divides into our containers. Now we may go back and add more, but I want to be able to add more broth if I like. Now I have 3 in there, 3 and 4. Okay, so that gives me enough to be able to add additional broth later, because I have quite a bit here, but not enough for all the containers. And that's just because of the size of the crock pot. It could only hold so much. So that's 1 container, 2 containers. And for us, since it's just 2 of us, actually 1 container is enough for a meal. Okay, that's 3. I'm going to go ahead with that 4th container. Now we're pretty much down to almost all the broth. I'm going to take some of the goodies out of some of these other ones and add it to this one. Take a little bit out of each one. There we go. And now I can divide the liquid that's down in here between the 4 containers. So for us, we've got 4 nights, or 4 meals anyway, that's in our container. So that was 1 container. That's 1 lunch or dinner. There's 2. That's 3. Scoot back just a little bit. Don't you just love it? Take that off. And now all I need to do is to top off the other containers with what's left. This is going to be great for any time I want soup. So like I said, when I do, I'll just drop a handful of kale into it, warm it up, and we're ready to go. We're not going to waste a drop. I have just a little bit left. I'll take this out, give it a little juice, see which one needs a little bit. And I think I'll pour it in here, just a little, and finish that one off. Now, these 4 containers for us would be 4 meals. Now, if you have a family of 6 to 7 or whatever it may be, and they're of good size, then you may actually need 2 of these for a night of good sausage lentil soup with kale. And if you don't want the kale, leave it out. Lots of soup ready for your family. Now I'm going to take the 4 of these. I'm going to let them cool off a little while longer. Then I'm going to put them into the refrigerator and let them get nice and cold tonight. And in the morning, they'll go directly to the freezer. Now, you know, the other day we made our sausage and lentil soup, and it was supposed to be a sausage, lentil, and kale soup, but I got tired and I got everything made, and I realized later that I forgot to put the kale in. So tonight I'm warming it up, and so we're going to add the kale to it. So I have a 10-ounce package, but I'm only going to actually warm up one of the containers that I put together. So and let that get nice and hot, but we're going to add the soup, and it has really somewhat congealed. And there we go. We got our sausage and our lentil in there. I added some more broth, and I'm probably going to put a little more broth in there because it's a soup, not a stew. So let's get some kale out of this package, and we'll be able to have Sausage kale lentil soup tonight. I didn't take my kale out early enough, so I'm going to have to break it up. There we go. I'm not sure they did it either. Have to go heavy with it. Let's get the rolling pin out. Oh, got a little wild with that, okay? So we got kale everywhere, but I'm just going to pick it up and throw it right in that pot because we're not wasting anything. And I'll clean the stove up later on. Okay, had a few pieces to fly, but that's okay. I'll add just a little more. There we go. And I'm saving enough for the other 2 containers so I can add kale to those. Now let me get some more broth. This is a second round because we ate it the way it was the first time. But this time we're going to add the kale to it like it was supposed to be originally. Let's get that extra broth in. And you can see we had 4 containers of soup. So, and this is just one. And I took a little bit out of another one, so about 1.5 containers. So we're going to get this to come up to a bubble. I'm going to give it a taste. And when it's nice and hot, we're going to be ready for sausage lentil kale soup. It's going to add the greens that we want because it's a really chilly day. So let's face it, we want to be nice and warm. So I'm going to let this sit and come to its bubble. And once it's done that, I'll bring you right back. We need it to boil. This really does look good, and I already know that the soup tastes wonderful. But you know, I like the fact that I'm going to be able to have the added nutrition of the kale, because kale is just so good for us. Nice dark leafy green, adding lots of vitamin K. So what I'm going to do tonight is that we're going to keep it simple. I'm going to put my soup in mugs, coffee mugs, really, coffee mugs. And that's how I'm going to serve it. We're going to have, the big guy likes a little bit of stuff, all the fixings, and then he wants broth. He likes it very liquidy. That's his way of getting warm also. And I'm just the opposite, because I want all the stuff. I hope you enjoyed these recipes as much as I did. And I hope you enjoyed spending the time in the kitchen, because it's always a lot of fun. Now, these recipes are healthy, delicious, easy to make, and you know what? So good for your family. Now, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And don't forget to click that subscribe button if you are not a member of the family. And if you want more healthy and delicious recipes, come back. Be right here to Ebony Ivy Thyme. Thanks for watching and happy cooking.